Good afternoon. My name is Gillian Schiller. I'm the Chairman of the Board of Trustees here at St Luke's Hospice. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for Light Up a Life, a celebration of people we've loved and cared for and the families who've been with us this year at St Luke's Hospice. We usually gather in the forecourt of the hospice, but this afternoon we can only do this virtually because of the pandemic this year. Today we'll hear from some of the staff who work for us, from people who've benefited from our care. We'll have some music and we'll switch on the lights of the tree and hold a minute's silence. I hope that if you have a candle, you'll light it too, so that you can be part of the ceremony this afternoon. Here at St Luke's, our mission is to help everyone experience the best possible last phase of their life. And the last phase isn't just the hours and days at the very, very end of life. It can be the last year or two, and we're here to provide support both to the individual and to their family, because both are very important to us. We'll be listening really hard to the things that are bothering you. Maybe you need some pain eased. Maybe you're breathless at night. Whatever it is that is bothering you is the thing we listen for most. We want to stand by you and give you the care and support you need at all times. We look after about 2,000 people a year, some of them at Kenton Grange, but mainly we look after people in their own home, where it's easier for you to talk to us and easier for us to listen to you. We stand by your side in any way that makes you feel most comfortable. And we do this because there's really good evidence that if you continue with mainstream treatment and you add in the specialist end-of-life care that we can give, that not only you'll live longer, but you'll live better. And that's the passion that drives us here at St Luke's. Everybody matters. Let's watch a short video we made recently that shows you the kinds of care that people experience when they're at St Luke's.
At the end of my life, St Luke's changed my life.
In the comfort of my own home.
They helped me get my independence back.
And helped me to walk again.
I thought it was just a waiting room to die.
So I was pretty scared about coming.
But when I'm here, I wish I could stay longer.
For the music therapy.
Or the massages.
And the big helping of humour.
And the friends. The hospice made me realise I'm not the only one going through this.
I learned a lot from my companions.
Like how to celebrate life.
Even in difficult times.
And tough conversations.
You can cry at St Luke's and somebody is there to give you a hug and a cup of tea.
There's nothing they can't do.
Whatever I need, anytime, night or day.
They help me to manage the pain.
Enough to send me home again.
I would have been lost without them.
Isn't that a great video for showing the care that we provide? And it's all made possible by the donations we get from our local families and people. I'd like to introduce Claire Zane, one of our senior doctors working here at St Luke's. She'll tell you a bit about the work she does.
Hello everyone, I'm Claire Zane. I am a consultant in palliative medicine. I work only at St Luke's Hospice. I'm the clinical lead for our 12 inpatient beds, that's where I'm based. Part of that job is supervising 2 trainee doctors. So we're always training a GP. That doctor rotates every 6 months so that our local GPs have got expertise in palliative care. Our other junior doctor that I supervise and train is at the beginning of their journey into specialising in palliative medicine. And they also rotate with some regularity, perhaps once a year. If you haven't been to the hospice, I think the key message is it's not what you think it is. It's a place that is full of, it's exactly as the video shows, it really isn't sugar-coated there at all. It's full of light and people laughing and enjoying life and living right up until the moment that they die, because that's what it is, that's our ethos. I think it surprises people to know that almost half of our patients who come into the inpatient unit are discharged home again feeling a whole lot better and a lot more supported with the information that they need, the symptom control that they need, the medications that they need in order to keep living their lives well at home. That surprises a lot of people. Surprises a lot of people that we have a day centre and people coming in and out for treatments, as you saw. So I know a lot of our patients over many years. That one particular patient in the video I have known for years in my clinic. So that surprises people. I feel like jumping straight actually to talk about COVID-19, because that has really surprised people. I was talking to consultants at Northwick Park, and even they were surprised about what the hospice was doing during the coronavirus crisis. We were right on the front line. Part of that was an accident of geography. Brent and Harrow were the first hit in London, an extremely high number of cases and a high number of deaths. And I was very much part of leading our response, sometimes completely on my own, ringing a very loud bell saying we need to do this and we need to do it now and we need to be ready. It was absolutely our duty to not only protect our patients at home, but to protect our staff and also to support the hospital and the local community as much as we could. So where some hospices decided that they couldn't test, they didn't have the right protective equipment, and they were not going to accept new patients, our doors were wide open. If there was a patient who was suspected with coronavirus, I would arrange a side room and we would isolate them. When we didn't have a swab, we would just treat them as though they had coronavirus as safely as we could until we knew otherwise. Between myself and Gillian and our CEO, we shouted as loud as we can to be on the bandwagon for the protective equipment as soon as it was available at Northwick Park, so we had some. But there were times where our team were working without it, let's not pretend. And they were turning up every day to do that. They very much saw that as part of their job. We signed up to look after people. They're feeling scared and vulnerable. It doesn't mean we should stop seeing them. So as soon as the hospital started calling saying we have patients who are COVID positive, who are not suitable for ventilation, we need beds. Where are you? Who are you? I'm like, we are here. We are ready. We have oxygen. We have beds. We have good nursing care. We will make them not feel breathless. We will make sure that they are comfortable. Send them in every day, taking another patient. And we had to think about, well, what are we going to do about visiting? We did not feel comfortable doing what essentially the rest of the country did, which is you cannot see your loved ones. That is not what St. Luke's do. Yes, it was a risk, but we felt it was a risk worth embracing. It's a key part of the last phase of life that you can be with your family. And even if the family themselves were elderly or had diabetes or felt that it was unsafe for them to be in the room as the high flow oxygen is on and they're dying of coronavirus, we would make sure they could stand at the window outside in the garden and perhaps only be a metre away, but they could see each other and communicate through the window. There was always a way that we could make it possible. And yeah, lots of patients did pass away, but they passed away peacefully and comfortably at the hospice. Yes, lots of our staff got sick, but we actually managed to maintain our bed occupancy for those 12 beds at higher than despite staff sickness, despite everything. And I'm so proud of the team for doing that. A particular case comes to mind, and I was asked to prepare a patient's story, and I'm now talking about a different one because I'm so passionate about what we did. She was a young patient with a lack of oxygen at birth, similar to cerebral palsy, very limited communication, but wheelchair bound her whole life. Her parents had cared for her into her 40s, completely devoted, a loving brother, fit and well. A very close-knit family, looked after her at home. She just happened to be in Northwick Park at the beginning of March with another bit of a chest infection. Happened about once a year. What terrible timing. Almost half the patients in Northwick Park actually, unfortunately, were cross-contaminated because in the early days it was very difficult to isolate. And she got coronavirus on top of her cerebral palsy, on top of her pneumonia. Needless to say, things did not go well at all. They tried desperately. They tried feeding artificially, they tried ventilating, just nothing was working. And after, it was the 30th of April, so they had tried really hard considering she got COVID at the beginning of March. And they said, we think this is it, she should come to the hospice. And so we said, yeah, we'll take anyone. She's still breathing coronavirus everywhere. She was swab positive the day that she came. She hadn't seen her parents since the beginning of March. And we said, no, you can come. We appreciate you're in your 70s. You can stand at the window. And they saw each other for the first time. I mean, if that doesn't move you to tears, to actually see that, I don't know what will. It was incredible. But as the days went on and no, she wasn't eating, she didn't open her eyes, she didn't communicate, we continued with the oxygen, she was completely comfortable. But she didn't pass away, she didn't die. Just the good nursing care, her skin was intact, her face was calm, there was no restlessness, but she just kept breathing, she just kept going. And then one day she seemed to open her eyes and seemed to respond to us. And so we thought, wow, what's happening here? And then a week later, suddenly she's trying to sit up in bed, and she knows her parents come to the window at 2 o'clock every day, and she's looking for them. She's like, where are they? I want to see them. And the next thing, she's sitting up in her chair, and then one day suddenly she's only on 2 liters of oxygen and she's eating ice cream. And we swab her and she's finally negative, and her parents are able to come into the room and hold her. And she says her first words since she went into Northwood Park, and she said, I want to go home. And she went home. She went home in August. That's what the hospice can do. Just embrace what the needs are and respond to them at the right pace for the right people, and enable the things that are important.
Thank you, Claire. That was a great insight into the remarkable work you do here at St Luke's. And I'd like to introduce Philip Barnett, who leads Tonic Choir. He'll tell us all about his experiences with St Luke's and introduce some music.
Hello, my name is Philip Barnett, and I have been asked to talk briefly about my experiences with St Luke's Hospice and introduce the following musical item. If I look familiar, some of you will know me as one of the duo who run Tonic Choir. Brian Kesselman and I set this up in 2009, and before COVID we were running 5 choirs with over 200 members. Or you may recognise me from the recent St Luke's online quiz cabarets. Last February, my wife Judy acquired a second chronic medical condition, changing our lives from difficult to almost impossible. Overnight she became virtually immobile and in constant pain. Despite valiant efforts, our GP could not relieve the pain and referred us to St Luke's. Judy spent almost 2 weeks as an inpatient, the result of which was pain under control and life just about manageable again. The hospice really lived up to its strapline of adding life to days. We continue to receive support in a number of ways. I say we, as I am always made to feel included. I dread to think how awful our situation would be without the support of St Luke's. This was our second positive personal experience of St Luke's. In December 2012, my mother Eileen spent her last 3 weeks in the hospice. At the time, I wrote an article for the hospice newsletter, and I think the experience is best explained if I read an extract for you. Our time at St Luke's was characterised by extraordinary care and attention. Not only did Eileen have every request quickly and politely attended to, but we, her family, were treated with great patience and solicitude. Since that time, I have often described to friends that I could not imagine a more positive end-of-life experience. Despite the huge loss we all feel, for Eileen was a truly remarkable lady, we remember our time at St Luke's with a smile. This is both for the laughs, music and singing that took place in Eileen's room, as well as the warmth and kindness of the people we met, doctors, nurses and support staff. It so happened that when my mother went into St Luke's, I was already in discussion with the fundraising team about a brand new event for Hospice Care Week. And so it came to pass, 10 months later, in October 2013, that we held the first St Luke's Voices for Hospices concert in the Harrow School speech room. It has never been difficult to get our choir to support the hospice. Many of our 200 plus members have personal experience of the great works for which St Luke's is well known. We were so disappointed that our planned performance for the opening of the St Luke's Memory Garden had to be postponed. But enough from me. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce an extract from that 2013 Voices for Hospices concert. Here is the beautiful Welsh song Myfanwy, with Brian at the piano and me conducting, 300 singers from 6 choirs, entertaining an audience of 250.
St Luke's Hospice is really important to me, and I'm forever grateful for everything they've done for me, my family and my granddad. When my granddad fell ill with terminal cancer, it was really difficult for my family and me. We found out about St Luke's Hospice and my granddad made a decision to come here. When my granddad came into the hospice, he was absolutely shocked. He said he felt like he was on holiday. He was very, very happy. He said to me he was absolutely shocked. He goes, "Oh, I feel like I'm living my final days the best way I can." They provided him with all the food he wanted, therapies that would help him relax, and the staff, they made sure he was very comfortable. They provided care like no other, and we are very lucky to have St Luke's Hospice in our community. I was able to come and see my granddad at any point I wanted. I was even able to come and stay with him. They made sure that I was looked after, they made sure my family were looked after, and most importantly, that my granddad was looked after. Like I've said, if you don't know about St Luke's Hospice, please come and visit the hospice, come and find out more, speak to the staff, come and speak to me. From my experience, I'll tell you, you'll not be disappointed. My lasting memories of my granddad at the hospice was a day where he decided he wanted ice cream and cake. So we went across and we bought ice cream and cake, and he wanted to share that with all the staff and all of the family. It was one, I remember seeing his face and it just lit up, and I'll remember that forever. I remember that my granddad was really happy in his final days, and that will stay with me for a very long time.
Thank you, Philip, and thank you to Tonic Choir for your performance. And Chandni, thank you for sharing your experience with us. We've had a number of people this year who've lost family members, loved ones, and not been able to visit and to grieve as they would normally because of the pandemic. It's been even more of a privilege this year than it ever was before for us to look after your people, to care for them, and to allow them to have peace at the end of their lives.
Good afternoon. My name is Alpna, and I am the Chief Executive of St Luke's Hospice. Today, I would like to pay a special tribute to Anne Hatswell, one of the founders of St Luke's, who sadly died earlier this month. A nurse by background, Anne worked as a daycare sister for the hospice for 15 years until her retirement in 2004. Sadly, Anne was diagnosed with a serious illness this month, and we were in the fortunate position of being able to provide her with the end-of-life care she so passionately fought for and has been so proud to have achieved. Anyone who met Anne was instantly drawn to her because of her innate kindness, her lively, spirited smile, and her ability to make all those around her feel better in themselves. She, with a few others, founded St Luke's, and we were honoured that she left life while being cared for by us. It was a very small way to say thank you for all she has done for the hospice over the years. We are also very pleased to have recognised her contribution to the hospice by putting up a sign, which is visible behind me, in the St Luke's Memory Garden, which reads, "Anne Hatswell, because of you." She was able to view this from her bed in the hospice inpatient unit. She lives on at St Luke's and will always be remembered fondly by all at the hospice who knew her. Thank you all for your support of St Luke's and for remembering your loved ones with us today. It is your support that will ensure that the vision that Anne and others had when they founded the hospice will carry on. If you would like to visit the hospice and take the time to reflect and see the Light Up Alive lights in our special memory garden at the front of the hospice and see Anne's tribute, please do get in touch and we will be very happy to arrange this for you. Thank you so much.
We'll now switch on the hospice tree lights. As we do, the Harrow Apollo Male Voice Choir will sing for us. This choir has been singing for the hospice for 8 years, and that's quite a contribution. We'd like to thank them very much for their support. If you have a candle, light it up now, and all our candles burning together will be a wonderful memory of the people who we've looked after with you and remembering their lives.
There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so
We'll now hold a minute's silence for everyone being remembered today. Lives. Thank you once again for joining us. We hold a real privilege in looking after the people of Harrow and Brent. We are passionate in our drive to do the very best we can at all times, and we thank you for your tributes that help us to continue doing this. We will always be here for the people of Harrow and Brent. It doesn't matter if there's a pandemic or a lockdown or any other circumstances, our doors will always be open and we will always provide the best possible care. Thank you.